Okay, hey guys, my name is May, and I know a lot of people are doing 2020 roundups, but as a huge music nerd, I wanted to organize my thoughts on my favorite 2020 albums in a little bit more depth. So, yeah, I made a YouTube channel. Ranks 20 through 10 aren't really ranked, they're just grouped according to topics I want to talk about, and as much of a music nerd as I am, I'll also be taking visual aspects like the styling and the MV into account, as well as the overall concept. So yeah, let's get straight into number 20. This album doesn't have a single bad song. It doesn't even have like a single mediocre song. Every single track on this album is genuinely good and enjoyable to listen to. I like that they switched up from their usual units. I love the visual aspect of it too. I mean, wow, look at June. The wealthy 60s American businessman vibes are just so attractive and they fit the season so well. One gripe I do have with this and with many 17 albums is that the songs are all so consistently good that there's no standout phenomenal songs, and the album can feel kind of samey when you listen to it, and I think Semicolon suffers from that quite a bit, but it doesn't really detract from the objective quality of the album. And my favorite song is Hey Buddy. It's just so funky and jazzy and so true to the concept that they're going for, and of course the 97 liners are just amazing together. Like Semicolon, I think this album is chock full of genuinely good songs that suffers from that kind of sameness across. The thing that puts this above Semicolon, in my opinion, is the visual aspect. The styling this era was gorgeous. Everybody was looking like straight up goddesses. The photo shoots were so pretty. Everything was just beautiful and it suited the concept perfectly. Also, I seriously love With One. It's a really good ballad song and an even better fan song. The lyrics are just so beautiful, and knowing the members wrote them makes that even better. And it has such a pretty melody and lets the members show off all their vocal colors, which I think can be an issue in IZ*ONE songs sometimes. So overall, this was definitely a really strong release for them. As a kind of antithesis to all the complaining I did about sameness, we have Reveal, which is one of the most diverse albums, music-wise, I think, released this year. Like, how do we go from this to this? And the best part about it is that it flows really well from song to song. Like, despite the sheer range the album covers genre-wise, it's never jumping from like a ballad to a hype song. It starts off strong and then it slows down gradually, and I think that's really admirable. The music video for this is gorgeous as well. Like, something about the lighting and the styling just captures the sophisticated edge perfectly. So many BGs have gone for that style this year, and I think the boys definitely did it the best. This one and the next one are going to be the two debuts that impressed me the most this year. Even though they're not technically comebacks, I wanted to talk about 2020 rookies that I have really high hopes for. And on the boy group end of things, that is Drippin. Nostalgia is a phenomenal debut and title track overall. I'm obsessed with it. It's big, it's retro, it's exciting. I feel like this would be a hit with second gen stands. And Overdrive is a phenomenal B-side, and it's a super strong mini overall, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't listened yet. The Shine and Nostalgia MVs were a great way to showcase both sides of the coin of that explorer concept that they're going for, and this choreo is super impressive as well, especially considering they've just debuted, and I'm super excited to see where they take this sound and concept in the future. So on the girl group side of debuts, I was genuinely blown away by weekly's debut AP. From the incredibly strong title track, to the choreo, to the concept, to the B-sides, everything about this debut was perfect for me. Attack Me is so catchy, and it lets the singers sing, and the dancers dance, and the rappers rap, and it shows off the members' individual charms in a concept that's just such a breath of fresh air in an industry that's so dominated by noir and angst, and it suits the members themselves perfectly. And of course, two of the tracks were produced and written by member Ji-yoon, and I'm so glad she got to show off her creativity. It's not something you see a lot in girl groups, and especially not directly after debut, and I think it was definitely a good move because both songs are great and really contribute to the minis' overall feel. They've had one comeback this year, Zigzag, which I wasn't quite as fond of, but I was still impressed by it, and I have super high hopes for them in the coming years, and they totally deserved female ROTY at Mama. When the Irene and seulgi subunit news dropped and I was forming an idea of what I thought it would sound like in my brain, it was pretty well identical to what the album ended up sounding like. All the dark, sultry, femme fatale vibes and the R&B. It's a really good exploration of Red Velvet's velvet concept as it pertains to Irene and seulgi specifically. Even though it technically wasn't on the album, Naughty is just insane. The choreo was insane, the MV is insane, from the way it's filmed to the complete monochrome. The production is just crazy. There's so many layers. It's really the natural, extension of how much you can experiment with the Velvet concept, and it came out amazing. The core four B-sides on the song are amazing as well. Diamond is everything I could have asked for from the subunit, honestly. Feel Good is super catchy, and it lets both of them explore their lower registers, which made me really happy with seulgi especially. She killed it. And Jelly is a nice breath of fresh air after all the darker and more seductive songs. It was upbeat, but not youthful or cutesy, so it definitely suited those two well. I think that Red Velvet have approached that time in their careers where solo and unit activities are the natural next course of action, and I'm really glad that Irene and seulgi got the opportunity to sort of go first and really delve into RV's Velvet side. My love is waiting for you. Somebody put something in gfriend's water this year. I don't know if it was Big Hit or what, but it seems like they're finally starting to really expand on their sound and concept while still keeping a lot of the traits that got them to where they are in the first place. Out of the 3 title tracks they released this year, Apple is my favorite, but since Walpurgis Night is sort of a repackage or full album, and Apple is on it, I decided to use it instead of Song of Sirens. Of course, not to say Mago isn't amazing, it's no secret that Retro is blowing up this year, and I'm personally a huge fan of that. Yuju? But yeah, this was truly 2020 retro K-pop a la gfriend, if that makes any sense. It's certainly a departure from typical gfriend, but it still keeps those big vocals and the perfect choreo that's been so characteristic of them throughout the years. The MV for this is just perfect, honestly, the way it's all filmed through this rosy pink lens, and so many of the shots are just so fun. They're enjoying themselves, and it's awesome to see. The B-sides are awesome as well. I'm a big fan of Night Drive. It's super atmospheric, and I think a lot of people were expecting something more K-drama-esque from Eunha and Yuju, but I think this suits them really well. 난 마치 꿈에서 꿈을 꾼 듯이 널 찾아서 헤매다 길을 잃어가 다신 깨지 못할 노란 꿈에. Let's start with the bad news. This unfortunately contains the only ateez song that I dislike. I don't like To The Beat. I tried so hard to like it. I think that they went a little bit too far in the pure rap direction for me, which is more a matter of personal taste. But if you liked pure rap songs, you'd probably enjoy this. But anyways, other than that, it's great. At least from a musical standpoint, Inception and Thanks are both great title tracks. They showcase sort of the two sides of ateez title tracks. with things like Inception and Answer being more melodic and things like Thanks in Wonderland being more energetic and rap heavy. The like schoolboy outfits in the Inception stages, I'm obsessed with those. Leon looks so good in that beret. Fever and One Day at a Time are so sweet, and the fact that One Day at a Time is entirely in English is really heartwarming considering ateez's fan demographic. And God, Good Little Boy is amazing. There's some reggae influence in the verses. It's sort of reminiscent of EXO's Coco Pop, which I really like. And it's just like so big, you know? It's so climactic, and that energy never lets up. It's really like, speeding down like a beach road in an open car and like listening to this. I can just visualize Mingi with his sunglasses just like standing up in a convertible at the beach. It's awesome. Loona honestly killed it with this album. I think Why Not and So What were both really polarizing title tracks, but I personally really like them both. What put this on the list and not hashtag for me is the B-sides. I think Voice or Star is one of the best songs they've ever put out. The outfits for the voice stages are super cute, as well like the 80s vibes and the matching pants. They're so cute. The Why Not styling was kind of funky, but they all looked good, so I'm not complaining. Midnight is also really diverse, but it sort of organizes its songs in like chunks. Like chunk 1 is Why Not and Voice, chunk 2 is Universe and Fall Again, and then chunk 3 is Hide and Seek and Oops, if that makes any sense. It's a really nice organization style, and Star was a really smart choice for the closer. Universe and Fall Again are both gorgeous, and like if you've seen the Fall Again live stage they did at their online concert and they like sing it live, and there's like all of these ad libs overlapping. It's so cool. And then Hide and Seek are both awesome. I like Oops, especially Eve's rap and Chu's vocals in the bridge. It's so good. This was such a good comeback for them. Despite all they've been through this year, they pulled through with really good music. This is just so unfortunate because honestly, this and the comeback at number 10 are interchangeable for me in terms of quality. It's just at the time of writing this script, I'm feeling number 10 more. If you asked me on another day, I'd probably put this in the top 10, but anyways, historically, I've had sort of a love-hate relationship with what BTS puts out. I absolutely adore a lot of their earlier work in the Love Yourself series, but I wasn't really feeling either of the Map of the Soul releases. So considering that downwards trend, I wasn't really expecting to like this at all, but I loved it. I love the songs, I love the vibe, I love the music video, I love the self-production aspect. Disease, so good. I'm definitely more into chill songs, and I think that using Life Goes On as the title track was a bold move. Title tracks are usually more exciting. Not to say that Life Goes On is boring, it's not, but it's definitely less hyping, I guess, than typical boy group title tracks. So this album definitely suits my personal taste in addition to the bass production value. When I first heard Love Me Harder, I honest to God thought this is the best title track of 2020. Like, regardless of what comes after this is just the best. And now that it's December, I think it's pretty much to live up to that, at least from my standpoint. It just contained so many elements that I'm personally a big fan of, like the really funky bass guitar in the verses, and the whippling, and the super energetic post chorus at the very end. And the live stages for this were just insane. Sungyeon was doing the absolute most, and him and the back dancers looked like they were just having so much fun. And every single B-side on this album is genuinely amazing. Lift Up and Accident hit so hard. Noid and Waikiki have this really good sense of atmosphere, and if you were anywhere on Twitter around when this came out, you knew that Black blew up as an edit song. And apart from that, it's a super fun listen on its own as well. The MV for Love Me Harder is so striking, and I love the storyline of it with like the good singing and the bad singing. And he did a really great job acting out both of those characters. He's just great in general. I genuinely can't find anything to complain about or fault. I'm just in love with this comeback. I'm a fairly new MOA. I only just stand them between when Can't You See Me came out and this came out, but it's been a solid 5 months now, and this comeback really just solidified them in my ults list for me. TXT have really good music, and their albums are really good at packing a punch in a few songs and not repeating themselves. There's very rarely any filler tracks in TXT albums, even in the Dream Chapter Magic. Like, every song serves a different purpose, which I find really nice, and Blue Hour just exemplifies that. Every song is amazing on its own, and when listened to as an album, it still has a coherent theme without having the sameness issue I was mentioning. The choreo for this is so cool. The dance break with like the Zumba they did at the MMAs, that was so much fun. It was like honestly amazing. And I love that we lost the summer MV. They're really good at seeming genuine in reaching out to shared struggles without seeming out of touch, which is really admirable and not something you see a lot. The title track is just iconic with like the "You're the One That I Want" move with like their pointing. That was going viral everywhere. And if I may talk about ghosting, it's just so perfectly atmospheric, and you can really visualize like a skyline at night. And sorry to mention the open convertible metaphor again, but it really does feel like that. I really like songs that make me feel or visualize something, and ghosting just ticks all of my boxes, and so does everything else. Remember when I was saying in like the woodz section that I thought Love Me Harder was the best 2020 title track? I thought that until I heard this. Admittedly, it's not my typical taste in music, but when I first heard it, I honest to God couldn't turn it off. It's only been out for like a couple months, and it's already like number 9 on my Spotify wrap-up most played. It's just so addictive. A lot of people have said this sounds like a boy group song, and I get where that's coming from, kinda, with like the grungier synths and all the rap, but it's usually said in a derogatory manner, and I think this actually sort of really takes the typical boy group title track by the reins and makes it something that both works for women and refines it and makes it just so much better than it would have been if it were just a boy group title track. The choreo is awesome. I really like the bit where they're like partnered up and they swing each other. The MV is awesome. I really like the sophisticated concept Meki have taken on this year. And even though I'm not quite as fond of the B-sides on New Rules, Cool alone is more than enough to cover for it. I actually put this at number 1 at first, but I kept putting stuff above it and now it's here. I still love it though. Like I said, I really dig the 2020 retro trend, and Feel Good really exemplifies everything I love about the genre. It's energetic and funky and lets the vocalist shine so much. The styling for this era was like adorable. I really like the pink outfits they used in the MV especially, and I really like the social media theme they had going, especially since we're like all quarantined and on various social media devices all day. It worked out really well and it was relevant to our current culture. Of course, I kind of need to talk about the lack of promise leading up to this. Honestly, if I could get something of similar quality to this comeback once a year, I'd stay with Promise forever. Like, this album is that good. Every song is just perfect for me. I especially like Mulgogi and Somebody to Love. They're so catchy, and Somebody to Love in particular has this like live, played at a cafe vibe, if that makes any sense. I really dig that kind of vibe, and I'm really glad they included something like that in the album. Starry Night is so beautiful. I really cannot recommend this album enough. I know Promise Nine isn't very listened to, especially on K-pop fandom in general. So if you haven't given the full album a listen yet, please do so. You won't regret it. I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but I don't like albums that have a lot of filler songs or really drag on. If you want an album that packs a huge punch in a few songs, then this is what you're looking for. I'm not exactly caught up with ateez lore, but from what I understand, this music video is extremely important to it, and it does that while still being effective as a standalone music video from an outsider's perspective, which is really nice. From a musical standpoint, Answer is actually probably my favorite or second favorite ateez title track, depending on the day. I just love how anthemic it is. I really think it pushed that side of ateez songs and departed a little bit from the pure hype of like Wonderland, while still maintaining their trademark hugeness, I guess. I could go on and on about how this release paved the way for them to release songs like Inception and how much hearing this excited me for their future, but maybe I'll make a separate video on that. I don't know, just know that, in my opinion, this was a really smart move for them and one that was definitely necessary musically. My favorite B-sides on this, Horizon and Star 1117, are both great in their own ways. Horizon brings more of that classic, exciting ateez sound while still advancing it. The vocal chops make me want to punch something in the best way humanly possible. Like, this is what they meant by pirate music. I'm obsessed with the way it goes into 3 in the chorus, and the very end where Jongho and the instrumental just go insane. This song is so perfect. And this section is already half a page long and I haven't even gotten to Star yet. It's great. I think a lot of people were waiting for ateez to release something like this, and once again, advancing their sound. All to Action is definitely on the more laid back side of ateez albums, given it only has 4 full tracks, and all of them are much more melodic and otherwise a departure from their previous work, but I think it was really a necessary move and a great way to close out the Treasure series. Okay, before I start the top 5, obviously this list is pretty populated by groups I'm personally a fan of. I tried to listen to a lot of comeback albums this year, but obviously I can't listen to everything. I might have missed some, I might have only listened to ones once and then completely forgotten about them. So there's that, and there's plenty of comebacks I wanted to add to this list, but when I got down to making it, they just didn't make it, so I guess you could consider this the honorable mentions. I really wanted to put hashtag on here. I really wanted to put one reeler on here, but it came out while I was writing the script, so I decided to exclude it. I wanted to talk about Stacy in the rookie section, but I didn't want to add 2 female rookies and then only 1 male rookie. Yukika's full album, Soul Lady, go listen to that. Butterfly by WJSN, Hide and Seek by Weki Meki, but I didn't want to have 2 Weki Meki comebacks in there when I don't even own them. So yeah, top 5. Woo! Can't you see me? My body 그날처럼 say believe me. 불타버린 내 맘을 come and feel me, feel me. If somebody came up to me in like March and told me a group that wasn't Loona was going to release a 15-minute lore short film in conjunction with one of the best albums musically of the year, I would have called you crazy. And yet, the Dream Chapter Eternity came out in May, and the second I heard Fairy of Shampoo, Drama, and Maze in the Mirror on the same album, I sat down and watched To Do for 36 hours straight. So that's my MOA story, but on the topic of the actual album, Eternity is another one of those small bite packs a punch albums. It doesn't drag on at all, and all 6 songs have an intended purpose. I'm obsessed with Maze in the Mirror in particular. Bumgyu and the rest of them did a great job producing and writing it. It mixes in these random parallel major chords in the middle of phrases that makes it sound so heartbreakingly hopeful. Fairy of Shampoo is probably the closest thing we're ever getting to boy group city pop ever, and I'm living for it. Drama is a great upbeat change from how angsty Can't You See Me is. I'm more familiar with TXT's core, and the Can't You See Me music video is certainly important to that, in addition to being incredibly well filmed. And of course, speaking of music videos, there was the masterpiece that is Eternally. And if I tried to talk about Eternally, this video would be like an hour long, so instead, I'll just direct you all to a YouTuber I really enjoy and look up to, Mera. They did a really great analysis on Eternally, and you should go watch it if I figure out how to link it. I've been talking a lot about albums not repeating themselves, and I think that Blue Eyes truly exemplifies how you can do that with a full album. Blue Eyes has a grand total of 12 songs, and not a single one of them feels useless or like a slightly altered carbon copy of another song in the album. If I tried to talk about every track on here, we'd be here for like an hour and a half, so I'll just focus on my favorites. Eyes and Open Your Eyes are great choices for opener and closer. They're similar, but Open Your Eyes has more finality to it, and it feels like the natural extension of Eyes, which is really cool. Dreamlike is an absolute feat. It's gorgeous, the beat just rolls and dances so smoothly, and the lyrics are gorgeous as well. I'm so proud of Wonyoung. Someday is amazing. The Jo Yuri's subunit vocals sound so great together, and this was a great choice of genre for them. Yuri did an amazing job writing and composing this, and while we're on the topic, there was so much member production in here, which is so impressive coming from a rookie girl group. I wish it wasn't that way and that girl group self-producing was more common, but unfortunately it's not, which makes this all the more impressive. Of course, IZ*ONE choreographies and styling and music videos are always faultless. There's nothing to nitpick here, but Fiesta in particular is really smart in the way it utilizes its transitions, and it's probably my favorite IZ*ONE MV. So overall, this was a phenomenal release and 100% worth the wait. Left and right, left and right, left and right, rip it, left and right, left and right. I don't have much to say. This is just everything I've been talking about already on steroids. Kidult is one of the best songs released this year. It's perfect and it's heart-wrenching. Fearless is exciting. I Wish is gorgeous. My was such a good choice for pre-release. The choreo and the MV are just adorable. Together has this awesome sense of finality to it, so it's perfect for the closer. This honestly has my favorite B-sides of the entire year. They're all just so perfect, and they fit the summery theme really well. My favorite thing about this comeback is probably how fun it is. Like, and this isn't really a negative thing, but 17 songs are usually really composed and structured, and Left and Right just gives them so much room to go crazy and enjoy themselves and throw in ad-libs in their stages, and it makes me so happy to watch. The concept for this was kinda but I'm pinning that on Pledis 100%. Everything else is flawless. Go listen to this if you haven't. I actually had this in first at first. I did a lot of debating to determine whether the comeback currently in first should even be in first, but needless to say, this is the perfect comeback. The cybercore and the black latex outfits, they killed every single outfit on every single stage. It's kind of ridiculous. La Di Da is without a doubt their best title track, and in my opinion, the best Korean title track of the year. It takes the retro trend and it makes it like everglow, you know? Something about this song just has so much of their distinct flair imbued in it. Ethan's chanting parts make the entire song for me. I really could not have asked for more in an Everglow era. The B-sides are so good as well. I haven't watched any of the B-side stages, but the studio versions are amazing. This album accomplishes so much in its 4 songs, and Untouchable was just gorgeous, and it has such an amazing message. This is the perfect comeback, and it's impossible to top this unless you are... I can barely put words into how much I love everything about this song and this comeback, even though it's technically just the one new song and everything else is just Japanese versions of old Korean songs. Everything about it is so perfect that I couldn't see myself putting this anywhere other than first. Also, true to form, this is the third 17 entry on the list. They had a phenomenal year, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Back to Fallin, I actually made an incredibly long and winded thread on my Twitter about the musical element of this specifically, but I'll try and condense it for the video. Fallin, a lot of its character comes from the fact that it has this really simple, it's just 3 chords in the progression, but it's coupled with really advanced songwriting and melody and production techniques. For example, the way the melody shifts, it actually changes the song from major to minor, even though the chord progression never changes. And they use harmonies to add emphasis on melody lines that need it. And they use these synths and these drums and they keep adding them to build tension and hype for the drop. And there's a lot more I could say about the structure, but if you really want to see the full-blown rant, it's linked in the description. Now, onto the visual aspect. You really don't have to be stupid to see how beautiful and poetic the music video for this is. The photo shoots were gorgeous as well, and the few live performances they did were Go watch the Fact Music Award performance, they never disappoint. I think that not only is this the best 2020 comeback, this is one of my favorite comebacks a boy group has ever put out, ever. It's insanely hard to top from both a musical and conceptual standpoint, and I love it beyond words.